TheoristCast. We got here with Lucid and
Pop Bop.
and we're
Did I
just
say Pop Bop?
I,
Did it come out Pop Bop?
I think you said pop bop. Bop it. Flip it.
There we go.
Um we're just here talking about the final episode of Captain Falcon. I'm staying by it. Called it the first episode. The show's now called Captain Falcon.
Captain America.
But you get that
Captain America.
you get that joke though. You saw that joke
And the
that they
Winter
made,
Soldier.
right?
Yeah, Captain Falcon and Black Falcon.
Yeah.
They kept calling it that.
And they're like, no, it's Captain
It's pretty
America.
funny.
Yeah. I was like, see, I called it. Good. But it's such a powerful final. Just one of the most powerful pieces of media Marvel has put out, especially Marvel Cinema has put out. Maybe like in ever a long time. You know what I mean?
I do. I agree with what you're saying. They balanced it with just enough superhero. They don't want to push anyone away from the show, trying to appeal to a broader audience, and at the same time they worked hard to get a message across. And I believe they pulled it off. It's just the past year, in watching, consuming media, consuming entertainment, and consuming documentaries, we have seen in the last year television go much harder than what Marvel did. But I applaud Marvel for their efforts, and I applaud them. I think they pulled off what they pulled it off well, and Disney Channel is not the place really, I guess, to go as hard as you can.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say they're gonna go Watchmen hard like HBO. Uh, and there's places for that, but then there's also, unfortunately, as you said, that if they went too hard, right? Even the message, "I'm a black man wearing the stars and stripes." What don't I understand? I was like, oh my god, are they gonna get canceled for that? Or white people are gonna start burning their comic books? Oh my god.
I hear
You
you.
know, right? Like it was like just that whole idea, like
Well, so the answer is no, they're not going to get canceled, but the answer is some people aren't going to return to the show because of that.
yeah,
And that's the sad part,
yeah. That
you know?
you're absolutely right. It is the sad part.
So, but the world is changing. Change with it or
Or
fight to hold it back,
lose out on
get
watching
left
cool
behind.
stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. I think they have a lot to explore in the show between the two of them.
Mm, yeah, and at some point I definitely got to go and get another watching of them and watch through them again in their entirety. Not even maybe so week to week.
Oh
Just
yeah, it's so different when you consume them back to back, and I'm surprised Disney is still sticking to that. I
it.
wonder why.
Oh, because it's free trial stuff. It beats the free trial system. What's the point of me getting a 2 maybe 3 week trial? I think they only do 1 week as well, but that 1 week trial is gonna get you one episode at best. Like if you want to be, you can either not pay for Disney and have to wait to the very end until everything's released to somehow binge everything in a week, or
Hmm.
pay up and keep paying to catch up and be caught up with everyone so you're not spoiled. Things are moving fast. They're not slowing down. I think this is one of their slower, only slow months. But come summer, it's ramping right back up. Movies, shows, almost every weekend.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to do. I've already so Netflix missed its subscriber forecast by 2 million, and people are already starting to drop these services. I mean, I've got everything right now. I've got Netflix, Hulu, Disney, Amazon Prime, and
HBO Max.
that's it, I guess. HBO Max, that because I have AT&T TV, which
Hmm.
has in 3 years gone from $10 a month to 70. So,
Jesus.
so it's like something's got to go shortly. Something's got to go. It's just come on, it's ridiculous. And it's like I don't even have the time to watch it anymore.
Right.
So
It's just TV
Something's
again.
gotta go.
It's TV.
Yeah,
It's a box sitting in your living room that you're paying a lot of money to not use. If you're lucky,
yeah,
somebody in the house is using it.
exactly. And pet sure isn't. So it's so something's gotta go. I don't know what's gonna go. Um, I haven't been thrilled with what Netflix has thrown out there, but I haven't been, they're my go-to when when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I can't sleep and I don't really have any of my coolest shows to watch. But that hasn't been happening much.
Yeah, who?
I do think they put out a lot of good anime this year.
Yeah, they've been. I feel like they've been diving deeper into those niche markets since
Hmm.
it's clear that they're not going to be able to win on the AAA front in terms of competing on the likes of Marvel and then Warner Brothers as HBO ramps up their stuff, and DC ramps up everything. It's gonna be hard for them to keep up with, but them adopting anime, since there is such a huge fan base for it, is also a cheaper alternative than trying to chase uh what, the next House of Cards. I
Yeah,
think it was House of Cards, the Netflix show.
yeah. And the
um
first three seasons of House of Cards was just amazing.
but it was expensive. It was
But
an expensive show.
oh yeah, but they got their money back and then some. But
But
back to, we jumped off of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
right.
I enjoyed the final episode. I saw it, I mean, kind of going that way. But I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, what could the possible endings be? You're not having George R. R. Martin write this, um, who keeps throwing things at you that are
And then everyone
very realistic, but you
dies.
didn't expect. Yes, exactly. Exactly, because it, it, and I love how he does that because when you are when you are w- doing the things that these folks are doing, realistically, the body count has got to be high, but television just doesn't work that way. You don't kill Anthony Mackie, right? You don't kill these big stars after 6 episodes because they're an investment in and of themselves. Their name is bringing people to the show. So I absolutely understand it. Um, I didn't think they were going to kill
Carly.
Flag, yeah, Carly, Flag Basher. So Flag Smasher. I didn't think they were gonna kill her. I thought she was gonna go, because you know what Marvel does.
Yeah,
They capture them, they put them in jail, and of course they all escape,
they either
right?
escape or they
One way or
become
another.
like pseudo good or something.
Yes, and so I was surprised with a couple of things they did. Not killing Carly, not killing Flag Smasher, and Baron Zemo actually ending back up in prison, and the Wakandans being the one to take him there. So I thought they were going to take the easy way out and have him just escape, um, and then come back later. But I like that they put him back in prison, and he's still in play. He's out of the game for now, but he's still in play.
Per his
And
butler blowing up the last super soldiers.
yes, exactly. And yeah, the last super soldiers gets it.
Yeah. So
And yeah, so that's the other thing I was gonna say. I like how they cleaned up all the super soldiers, so there's just the U.S. agent left. And
Bucky.
I, well, yes, Bucky. Um, but I'm interested to see what they do with the U.S. agent, because he's a mistake that I don't remember Marvel fixing. But you're gonna make me go back and read all of these comics because I want to find out what happened. Marvel's made a couple of mistakes that are just sitting out there, and they made a couple of mistakes that they tried to correct, like the killing off of Elektra, and then the fan base saying we want Elektra back. Okay, they brought her back. They brought her back to life. But they created some characters like Onslaught. Like you don't create an Onslaught and just leave him out there, and then you somehow defeat him, and you defeat him with Dark Phoenix, and then he's gone forever. Come on, it's just too powerful. But anyways, I feel like when I started reading about the U.S. agent, that he was a mistake that Marvel made, but I stopped reading, and I don't know if they ever went back and cleaned up that mistake. So
I
get a quick
believe
update
they
on his
have
bio.
been. I believe they have been in the last year. That's why I knew he was coming. As soon as I saw him, I was like, okay, he's gonna be U.S. agent. Because I've noticed that they have been, like I said, doing some cleanups, adding him into storylines, especially him and Captain America, Falcon, Captain America, fighting. And I think at one point, he is sent to take the shield back. But it was during that whole weird Captain America is really Hydra phase. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
another mistake.
uh, but I think what they're gonna do with him is, which is another theory, is have him part of the Dark Avengers.
Well, y y you don't just jump into the Dark Avengers. Come on.
But that's what I think. I
That's
don't think they're
that's a story in and of
I
itself.
don't think
You
that's
know
what they're
how,
doing.
you know,
I don't think they're just jumping into it. I think they're building to it, like with Wanda, Sharon, U.S. Agent, uh,
Sharon.
Sharon Carter, because she's the power broker now. She's the power broker, and she's in charge of
Okay, but
Shield. She's like back in a high level ranking in Shield. I didn't even realize it was Shield.
so
When
so yeah, yeah. So I like that they did that. I like what they did with Sharon Carter and brought her into the Shield nest, and she has a different mission than Hydra. But you gotta understand what the Dark Avengers were. First of all, none of these characters, Wanda, um, Sharon Carter, they have to give us more story. We need two or three more stories to see how she got from where she was to where she is. Because when you have a family history of serving your country, and yeah, they abandoned her, but there's got to be more to her story. The Dark Avengers, they were all bad guys, right? They were all bad guys, and when the Skrull took over and replaced everybody, they ended up, I mean, the Dark Avengers was led by Norman Osborn, who, took over Shield. So he picked his villains and the most powerful in villains that he could control. So you can't just have the US agent, again, another person who served his country. We see that he's he's not an evil guy at heart. He wants to do good, but he doesn't mind, taking your
he's
life
easily
for it.
misguided though. This whole scenes with Madam Hydra, her, especially the one bumping up like, look, see, it's better. We don't need a Captain America. We need a U.S. agent. I'm like, what are you gonna use them for?
So
What are you trying to use them for?
I get that, but again, that manipulation is gonna have to. I don't know if he's easily manipulated because, you know, there are tasks that you're asked to do that on its face are evil tasks, and they have to know they can't use the US agent for that. Versus the Dark Avengers, these were bad guys, and Norman Osborn was able to just say, go kill all of them, right? And the Dark Avengers would mount up and they would go lay waste. And he would actually have to go in there and like crank down on his control measures for people like for people like Venom, right? Who was Scorpion at the time, and crank those control measures down to keep them in control because they would lose their minds because they're all sadistic killers that were the Dark Avengers, right? So
I mean,
it's like,
I hear like that can be injured, but it's like, again, like it's one of the things you said before along in the day when I was talking about, man, I want to see. I wish they did just the Wanted comic instead of just taking the name. And you're like, well, who wants to see a show about a bunch of evil people? And maybe back
yeah,
then you were right. Now, I mean, that's half of our shows. I mean, look at the boys. Um, and clearly they're now
yes.
invincible, right? And it's like, so evil superheroes and watching a show about villains and bad people is
Well,
that
well, not evil superheroes, right? It's again, we go back to the to that old trope. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And and now is the time to display that. But at the same time, we're not talking about those things, right? So Invincible is you're going to see more about it Invincible, but Invincible is an example of power corrupts absolute, power corrupts absolutely. But also there's a bit of well, I don't want to spoil it for you. So there's more to that
Yeah, that's
movie.
fine. That's
But
fine.
the Dark Avengers are a totally different thing, right? The Dark Avengers, these are, again, psychopaths with superpowers, and many of them believe that the world is their playground, right? Humanity is their playthings to abuse and to destroy and to eat, right? So you got a you got a very different group. Like if you have a villain that doesn't need to eat people, but he wants to eat people, and he has superpowers, that's a different kind of creature. You're not
But
talking
how
about
do we do
the
that? That's what I'm
corruption of
saying. But
power.
how do you do that with Disney MCU? Like I get it. I get
Well,
like
I don't think they can.
which is
I
which is
don't see.
why I think they're going to retool the Dark Avengers into be like these troubled people who are on the wrong path, like Wanda, right? The fact that she so desperately wants her family back, she's willing to destroy basically rip the universe a new one just to do it.
But she
Use this,
wasn't. But she wasn't destroying the universe. Okay,
but
she
the
abused some people
but the
for
dark but the
sure,
dark
but she
hold.
limited.
But remember,
Yeah, but Darkhold is
is
different.
going to corrupt her, right? And is going to bring out, because that's the whole thing about the Darkhold. It shows you that what you want is possible, and it's the exact thing. Power corrupts, absolutely, right? Where the fact that you have that power to make just about anything you want possible, right? And the fact that she has the magic to
Well,
do that,
so
that is
so I think
absolutely
that's a
going
little
to
different.
corrupt her. The U.S.
I think
agents,
that's
easily manipulated, right? I think they might be going for the whole, the military, like how a lot of these people are. Some people in the military are pushed to do things that are evil, right? Because there are some amoral things that are done in the military that someone might not do if they weren't, like as the line says, you made me. I did everything you wanted, right? Like this is clearly a guy that follows orders, right? And what happens if his
I
now
think that was
orders are
a
come?
very good line.
But it happens if his orders are now coming from someone who's nefarious, like Madam Hydra, right? Believing that he's actually working for a special part of the U.S. government that is clandestine, a dark part of the U.S. government that, like I said, that's willing to kill to get certain things done. And he's made a fool. I think not even just the people in it, but I think the world, how we are believe that many things the government is doing on face is good, right? Because that's what we're told, that's what we're meant to believe. But really, like when you're in the back end and you're seeing like the GRC, like these guys are walking around with guns. Yes, the GRC sounds good, but they're just a terrorist force around the world, right? And I think they might be going for that angle where you
Uh,
know these are not necessarily evil people, but they are troubled people. They're troubled supers that have been brought together
yeah, you're
to,
talking about your version of the Dark Avengers,
yes,
right?
yeah.
What you think?
Because they have Talbot. I'm not Talbot, but they have the guy that's gonna be Red Hulk. General. Fuck, I forgot his name. The general that becomes Red Hulk. They have
Yeah,
they have Black.
what's his name?
Right? It's General Ross. General Ross. Thunderbolt
General
Ross.
Ross, yeah.
They have Thunderbolt
Ross,
Ross
yeah.
and Black Widow, and AIM, who turns Thunderbolt Ross into the Incredible Hulk. They're both going to be in the Black Widow movie. So the summer
So
spec.
so so before you go creating the Dark Avengers, right? I don't know if you read something that they're gonna do the Dark Avengers. I haven't, but I haven't read the
I've been
I haven't
following
had the
some
time to keep
theories.
up
Like I
on it.
said, game theory, film theory guy. He did a film theory on the future and like where they're probably possibly going further, and about the Dark Avengers, and a lot of stuff he pulls from comes from came before even the shows like Wonder Vision and all of them were coming out. It came. He was talking a lot about Black Widow's trailers, and how in the comics for a period of time her sister pretended to be Black Widow. Uh,
So that's what I was gonna bring up. That's what I wanted to talk about. 'Cause I haven't looked at the theme of the Black Widow movie. Um, because I want to be surprised. I want to be entertained. But I wonder if they're bringing in Black Widow's little sister so she can replace Black Widow, or if they're going to exploit the alternate timelines and the multiverse to bring her back. She is really loved, and
Scarlet, yeah.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, and I think she still has legs. I think she's still will be able. I think they can get another two, three movies out of her before before fans say enough. You know,
Yeah,
I think people still want to see Robert Downey Jr. As Tony Stark,
I believe they're gonna bring it
right?
back as
And
hologram Stark. That to me, that last scene of hologram Stark was like, see, called it. They're gonna bring him back as hologram Stark. Give him
who
time.
wants to see hologram Stark?
I,
Do you want to see
I,
hologram
the
Stark?
reason I know, the reason I believe so is because they're bringing out Ironheart, the girl, the black girl that becomes, girl Iron Man.
Hmm.
And he was her holographic mentor.
Yeah, I didn't read Ironheart, and I have them. I haven't read them. I think I have the first five,
I
but I
read
haven't read
I
them
read
yet.
a few or watched some things on him, but yeah, like a couple years ago. But yes, his holographic AI is her mentor. Uh, so easily I see that they're him them bringing him back for scenes like that to kind of usher in this new Iron Woman. But Iron
So
Heart.
tell well, so back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What do you think of the U.S. agent's mask?
I can't even remember. I have to look it up.
I mean, it's not new. I just don't like the way uh, he looks in the mask. I don't know what they changed about it between him and Chris Evans. Um,
Are you talking about
but
when he's wearing his Captain America suit or his final suit?
both. He, I don't like it, and I think they're the same. Hey, I mean, they just
You,
changed the
you,
color,
you, know, you know
right?
what it
It's like,
is?
oh,
It's
it's black instead of blue.
hmm. It's because I don't think
I
because
don't like his mask.
Chris didn't have like the chin strap. I don't think he had like the
Is
hard
is that what's
like on the chin. Let me see,
Yeah, maybe that's it. I'm trying
the
to find some
first
pictures of it right now.
Avenger costume. Oh, okay, he did. Yeah, it looks like his first one. That's why it's so weird. It looks like his first Avenger suit. And remember, we haven't
But
we.
it's okay, so his mask looks so much better than what they did with the US agent. Is it the difference in what are they doing? The eyes are shaped slightly different, or maybe it's just their faces. Maybe I just don't like his face in the mask. I don't know. Um,
You know what I think? I think it's the nose. It's
there's something about the nose, isn't it?
it's the nose.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
he has a yeah. It's he has a bigger nose than Chris, but it's not like uh Anthony Mackie's nose, right? Where it's like big flayed out black man nose. So
Yeah,
it
I'm not crazy about that final Falcon suit either. I'm not crazy about the final Falcon's mask and the fit of the suit on Mackie. I'm not nuts about that. But
I
again,
think it's gonna get
it's
better
hard
in
to bring these
Captain.
costumes to life.
I think it's gonna get better in Captain America 4. I think they're gonna have time to the same way that over time, at a certain point, they were able to look back and like, wow, I used to wear this. Jeez.
Yeah.
They're
I love the Black Panther costume. That Black Panther costume and I hate when I lose names. His nemesis,
Killmonger.
Killmonger. Yeah, both of them in their costumes. I think most of their costume was CGI
Yeah.
also.
Oh yeah, almost completely CGI. They had like when they were outside the head when they could show their head, they had the suits, but whenever whenever it was out, whenever their heads weren't showing and they're in mask, it was all CGI.
Yeah.
Most everyone,
Anyways,
Iron Man, Spider Man, they're all CGI. If we're not using their face, they're voiceovering it.
I got you.
Um,
So I think they're gonna introduce a new Black Widow. I think it's gonna be the sister. I like how they wrapped up. I, I l- I like how they confronted the government, and I like that it was on supposedly international television at the time.
or at least the internet.
And
So it's gonna get on the internet
yeah,
at least.
and he made his little speech. Would it make the difference in the real world? No, but
Oh
this
no, of
is
course not.
again, this is entertainment, and he at least said what he needed to say and made them think about it. Um, so I like all of those things, but to jump away from the comic book world and still try and put a little bit of reality into it. If something like if the snap happened and we halved the world's population, in the blink of an eye, and then 5 years later, half of the world population comes back, then of course that would be a problem, you know?
Yeah, I missed the last part of what you said.
Um, so I'm picking up fine here. I think when we put it all together, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I'm seeing it. I'm
but
picking
but
up
I,
what
but I
you're
haven't.
saying.
I feel like I got the gist of what you're saying about um how like it's tough about making it into reality as much as possible when really,
Yes,
a speech like that isn't going to get some government, a bunch of world governments to just back down. Uh,
exactly. I like Marvel's attempt to insert real world problems in Civil War when Tony Stark is confronted by the mother of one of the soldiers that died when they dropped the city out of the air. That was really good. You know, I do not think leadership gets confronted enough with the real world consequences of their actions. Not only do they not get confronted enough, but even when confronted, they're not truly held accountable. And I like that Marvel is at least in its comic book world trying to do that. I think it's an important thing for you youngins to see.
well, I wouldn't maybe not us young because I'm not that older. I'm not that young anymore, unfortunately. Unfortunately,
Well,
that's good, but
you're at the age where the decisions you make as a group will affect all of us. There's not a more populous group out there that is of voting age and at an age to hold those who lead us accountable. So,
yeah, I just
like,
don't. I think this the only problem is that we're kind of past that age, right? So many of us like in our 30s at
you're
this.
past that age?
Well, we're
No,
so much that we're in our
that is
30s
the
that
age.
that something like that wouldn't change our minds. This is great for like the young generation. We're seeing this really will motivate those, but for those of us that are apathetic already, they're not gonna. And I don't mean I'm not apathetic, but those that are apathetic, I know them. Something like this doesn't change their mind. In fact, they are the crowd that's like, keep politics out of my superheroes or keep politics out of my video games. Like those are the ones that are the loudest about it. And younger generations are echoing it, not understanding really why the older generation's doing it. When it
Yeah, I
really
mean,
is,
politics have always been part of comics. I mean, it's always, Stan Lee has always done commentary on what's going on in the world, racism, abuse of power, abuse of women.
but our
He's
media hasn't always been.
always done that.
Our
Oh,
media
well, of
outside of
course.
comic book hasn't always been, and that's the issue. Because if I do a static thing, like I'm worried that they're gonna go so softball on static because they're worried about people. But if they really did go hard as they did as Dwayne McDuffie did in the comic, like when they straight up said like that N word, I would say I bleep it, but straight up say nigger, right? Of course bleep that. And call Static that, right? And like that's the true thing. Like Static isn't in a mask. He's riding around on the board. People see a black kid in the air. Some racist people they're gonna be screaming at him. Uh, but I don't see them doing that in any of the movies, in any movie that they're gonna do, because they're gonna be worried about alienating um, fans who grew up with it, who only grew up with the cartoon, not really, and barely missing over all the messages that were peppered through the cartoon. Because even watching cartoons, he goes hard on some messages, but definitely not as hard as he could have gone for his teen comic, right? His young adult comic. Right? He can't go as hard as he did in his children's show. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that means there's a lot of Caucasian kids who grew up loving Static, who probably don't realize that the comic is so heavy when it comes to race topics and politics that many of them
I
would
don't.
be turned off by they would
Oh,
they
you mean Love Static the cartoon, but not
yes,
Static the comic. Okay,
right,
I
because
see
they
what
were
you're
never
saying.
exposed to it. Right, it's not something you can easily just find. Right, I had to search for it to read everything that he did on the Static comic. uh So they're going to see this and be like, "Whoa, keep this out of, like, keep all this race politics out of my movie," right? It's just supposed to be about who cares if he's black. It's not supposed to be about him being black. When it's like, no, the whole comic is about the fact that he's black.
So,
That
so
affect
what do you think
everyone.
about? So what do you think about the Falcon as Captain America, as the leader of the Avengers? Because that's a big deal. That's a huge role when it comes to. You can see him already. They tried to set him up in this series as that he can lead, he can strategically plan and think big picture and always trying to do the right thing, not just trying to accomplish the mission.
He's trying to fill.
So how
He's
do you
trying to
think they
fill
pull
Steve's
that
role.
off?
I think he did really well. Hey, it's there. Those scene, like that scene where he grabs him, covers him in the helicopter, and stands up. Oh, like you could feel that you're like yes, yeah. You know what I mean? Like is that the feeling that you're supposed to get? Like, God damn it, yes. Right when he gets that pose, his wings are out, and then he flies away. You know, but even then, like this part where he says stuff like, "There are people who are gonna be mad for wearing this flag." I can feel it right here, right now, and I'm like, I think they're nailing. Like they understand what they're doing. They didn't. It to me, it's the difference between it. To me, it shows the stark difference between that and the Spider-Man Miles Morales games, and how remember I complained to you how it just felt more, if anything, pandering. Like, hey, we got a black kid, hip hop music, and but everything else is just on the surface. No real care and consideration, like understanding that when Miles Morales was announced, racists wanted to burn down Marvel and have Stanley on a
Yeah,
stick, on a stake, right? They wanted to kill everyone involved because
there was a
Spider-Man was
lot of
black,
complaining about Miles Morales. There definitely was a lot of complaining,
right?
but I still see a lot of complaining and people saying the most hateful things when I'm looking at cosplayers, who
Mm-hmm.
are, you know, cosplayers of color, cosplaying X character and Y character. But I mean that's not going anywhere. But that's not what we're here to talk about,
Yeah,
right? We're here to
the
talk
fact,
about.
but even the fact that they addressed it, they understood it. They understood not just that, not just that a black man, people would have a problem with the black man being Captain America, but the fact that they already have that this was already something that happened. That what happened to Miles Morales already happened to Falcon in the comics. That
Mm,
comic book fans wanted the heads of everyone at Marvel when they announced that in the new universe, or in this rebooted universe, uh, Sam would be taking on the mantle of Falcon. They were like, boycott Captain America. Like, I remember that clearly, like how angry they were that was happening in the comic book, right? So, and the fact that they seem to not only understand that, but were willing to address that, that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. That's the kind of representation I'm looking for, right? Uh, Not just here's a black person, but it could have been white. I'm like, sure, that's fine. Like, yes, we knew those roles, but understanding, why it's so important that we're in these roles, right? And
yeah.
addressing why. I feel I know when they do eventually announce Miles Morales in the MCU, or like, well, they had mentioned him. Donald Glover kind of teased at him in the movie, but when he does become Miles Morales Spider-Man in that in the MCU universe, this makes me believe that they are going to take that approach with it, right? And kind of understand like the struggle that would be. And again, the leeway I do give them in sense is that Spider-Man is a full costumed hero. You don't see what he looks like, so excuse me. Not you're not he's not gonna swing around and be like, "Hey, Black Spider-Man, get out of here." I mean, maybe based on his suit, but they're not gonna be calling him Black Spider-Man because they think he's a black guy. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody, maybe I don't. But the point is, like, they're calling him Black Spider-Man maybe because his suit is black, right? Not necessarily because they know who's under there. Well, like I said, the difference is Static is he not only does he have black skin, but he has in his second suit he has his dreads are just hanging out. He just wears out his dreads, so you have to know he's black. Um, and he wears it proudly. So, and the Mortal Kombat movie makes me definitely feel like they're definitely not going to do anything right by the Static movie at all.
So the same group that created the latest Mortal Kombat is making the Static.
No, but
Static
it's Warner.
movie?
But it's Warner
Oh,
Brothers,
okay.
and God, like when I
Hey,
when
Warner Brothers gets it right sometimes.
when when
They
I
just did the Snyder Cut,
when
the first Wonder Woman.
yes, after getting bitched at by the entire internet for like years, and then they messed up Wonder Woman 2.
Oh my goodness.
Like, come on, you can't even
I'm
say.
not even
In
sure
fact,
what
in,
happened
in
there.
fact, I didn't. I feel like I called that when one of our conversations long ago, and I was like, I hope they don't mess up. Like, now that Wonder Woman's got made money, now they start getting their grubby fingers in there and completely mess it up, and that is exactly what they did.
Yeah,
Um,
and you don't often, well, you used to see that quite often in the past, where the first movie is really good and then the subsequent movie is just absolute garbage. But we haven't seen that in a long time. But they pulled it off with Wonder Woman 2.
well, it
But
it's
I think
it's.
Wonder Woman 3 is in pre-production, so let's see where we go from here.
I mean, for me, like, cause like, especially I watched interviews, especially with celebrities, and they talk. It definitely sounds like Warner Brothers, like their film department is still being Warner Brothers film department is still being headed by certain people who are a bit out of touch, if you can get what I mean. Probably, whatever imagery pops in your head of the out of touch person that probably doesn't need to have anything to do with superhero movies. Um, but are like the only one of the few people funding it and want to make a quick buck. So the problem with Mortal Kombat was one, it was boring. It was so boring that I was upset. I was frustrated by how just not fun I was having watching this movie. And in fact, I was getting frustrated as it went on. Uh
I hear you.
it
So why didn't you just stop? You wanted to see if it got better, right?
Well, yeah, and it's like I want to support. I want to see Mortal Kombat. I want to see Mortal Kombat. I want to see fatalities, and the graphics weren't terrible. They weren't amazing. You could tell what scenes they put all their money into. Everything else was like, we're gonna do these scenes to get to these scenes. One of those kind of movies. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is terrible because it's like you know nothing about the Mortal Kombat lore, right?
I know a little bit about it. I will definitely check out Mortal Kombat this week. I know a little bit about the lore. I played through some of the games and I've watched all the cartoons, but I don't know if all the worlds,
Well, I mean,
are synced up.
it's a complicated world. It's a complicated lore, and like the general understood lore. Like let me just take off a piece. Let me take off a piece. Like just let's say your main men, who they somehow for some reason decided to make the whole movie about. Scorpion and Sub-Zero, two side characters who have a very interesting past and very interesting backstory and lore, but essentially side characters who they made the entire movie about. The movie was not about Liu Kang and our Earthrealm warriors, right? It was about Sub-Zero and Scorpion and family.
So they did that with the. So I just watched the cartoon that came out several months ago. Came out middle of last year, I guess. Did you watch the cartoon?
Yes, I watched, but
Which was
but
good.
they went by it, and here's why. You watch the cartoon, right? So
Yes.
you get if I remember correctly, you get the history between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Scorpion kills
Yes.
Sub-Zero's family and Sub-Zero. He goes to hell. He's resurrected by Quan Chi as a Hellspawn. He then takes revenge on Sub-Zero, only to find out later that Sub-Zero wasn't who killed his family. It was Quan Chi pretending to be Sub-Zero. So in order to get them to murder each other so that he can resurrect them as his spawns. So now he had Hellspawn, Scorpion, and Noob Sabat, who is Bihan resurrected. And then you have the new Scorpion who takes on his brother's identity, his younger brother, the one with his scar on his face. So interesting story, right? So when later on Scorpion realizes that the truth, that it was actually Quan Chi, he kills Quan Chi and decides to dedicate his life to protecting Scorpion's Sub-Zero's little brother, who, because he killed his older brother, and helping him rebuild him in the Lin Kuei and the Shi'ar, and also rebuild the Shi'ar, right? That's an interesting story for these two background characters, right? Betrayal,
But
revenge.
how do you stick that in a movie
Dude,
and not make it about them?
you,
That's what they did with the cartoon.
and honestly, I would have been fine with that. But here's what they didn't do. Any of that. Anything. They just made up lore, and that's what upset me the most. Because I was super, me, I grew up on Mortal Kombat. Somebody was talking about, like, I think said something, and I could be like about how you didn't play the 80s Mortal Kombat, and I was like, 80s Mortal Kombat? Mortal Kombat came out in like early 90s. Like, if anything, like late 80s. Like, what are you talking about? Hold on. So, but me, I grew up I had Mortal Kombat on the Genesis, right? 92, right? The first game came out in 92. So there are people like defending this movie as if they're old school, longtime fans, but claim to be like on the NES in the 80s. I was like, it wasn't even out in the 80s. It came out the same year I was born. Okay, a little too much information for you guys, but yeah, it was like I grew up on this game. This was my game. You remember that, right? So I love this. I love it. Even a compliment. So I was about it. One of the first troubling signs that I kind of glossed over was the trailer, and how there was really only one trailer. Everything else was a promotion. It was splices of that trailer with some behind the scenes stuff, and the cast, or mainly the director, gushing about the movie. This Australian dude gushing about the movie, about how amazing, how it's gonna really, the fans are really gonna love it, and he's like, he really made it for the fans. And I was like, okay. So they introduced this new guy, Cole Young. Okay, cool. I'm a little pissed off that one, he seemed to have replaced Johnny Cage, so that annoyed the hell out of me at first when I first realized that. I was like, where's Johnny? Why is Kano on the team? What is going on? So that's first. We go through. We talk about how great he is, how he needs him in the movie because he's an audience surrogate to introduce him to the complicated lore of Mortal Kombat, this 30-year history of Mortal Kombat. And they completely make up the entire, just all lore. Every bit of lore they make up. All they use is names. That's it. That is. Imagine Wanted, but Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I got you.
so imagine that frustration. You're like, oh, what is this?
I was very disappointed with what Wanted turned out to be compared to the comic book it was loosely based on.
So loosely,
Yeah.
like this is so loosely based on Mortal Kombat. Like, I almost hate to say that it's a Mortal Kombat movie, right? And the worst part is that they got people from the Raid, and like they have another Japanese martial artist who are like legends in the field. I have no desire to go back and look at those fight scenes. None. I really don't. But I'll go back and watch all the Raid fight scenes over and over. I'll show them to my buddies and stuff. These Mortal Kombat fight scenes, okay. Because these are skilled fighters filmed by amateur Australian director and DP probably. Okay, this Australian director has no film credits, none. He has his one credit on IMDb is some commercial. But they gave him the WB decided he was the one to give a 30-year property to. So
I hear you. You definitely feel a way about it.
yeah, because it's like this was this was practically a slam dunk. Slam dunk. This was easily a 10-year movie deal if they did this right. But now they have half the audience like being like, what did you expect? It's a
But
video
isn't
game
this?
movie, and then half of them being
But
like,
isn't this
come
the?
on.
Uh, but isn't this the fourth Mortal Kombat?
But it's like
Something
some
like that.
reboot. It's not.
They're gonna make another one.
But my thing is like, I don't want them making it in this universe. I want them to be like, screw this guy. Because the thing that, because I had this suspicion. I had this weird suspicion when I first realized that Kano replaced Johnny, who again, as we talked before, and I think I explained to you, Johnny's a titular character, right? In fact, Johnny is based on the character who this game was made about, because it was a fight game for Jean-Claude Van Damme, based on Jean-Claude Van Damme. And when I think when they changed it to either make it more a fantasy game or drop that element, Johnny Cage became Jean-Claude Van Damme became Johnny Cage, right? Like that's who he came from, with the splits and everything. So the fact is that the fact that they put Kano in, I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, why? He's not part of the gang. In fact, why is he with Sonya? Sonya wants him dead. Like, she hates him with a furious passion. She killed his partner. She wants him dead. Why are they partners? Why are they what? And they try to make up some weak ass excuse for it, but it's like, no, come on. So I had a suspicion. I was like, is this a vanity thing? Because at first I thought maybe he was British, but now that I know he's Australian, it definitely was a vanity thing, right? Because it
So
was.
now you're getting deep into your opinions, right?
It's a suspicion. This is a theory. This is a theory that this amateur Australian director, again, Australian that had no film credits under his belt, made even short, even indie film credits, right? Decided that he was going to, he was given a property of this 30-year, has 30-year history of it, and decided to make up his own lore while taking away the American character that is a fan favorite and putting in the Australian character who is a niche favorite, and who was the everyone's saying is the favorite part of the movie, which makes you wonder why. Because he was the only one that was given all the best lines. Everyone else had terrible lines, terrible word vomit, exposition vomit, terrible excuses. They made Sonya look like a little punk. And it was like, and it was just like, it was a Scorpion Sub-Zero movie, with Kano being the comic relief. Everyone else was just like, look. In fact, watch the movie and you'll hear. Remember this part when I say that it felt like they almost hated. They don't like the fandom. They don't like it because at a certain point it felt like they were shitting on our main characters. And you're just like, what? Like, they spent so much time shitting on our main characters that are supposed to be like our fan favorites. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Do you even like this stuff? Do you even?
Well, Rotten Tomatoes definitely didn't like it.
Right? They shouldn't have, right? But it was a slam dunk. Like, I don't know. Did you see Sonic, the new Sonic movie?
No, I keep wanting to watch that because you said it was really good.
It's so good. It was so surprisingly good, right? It was so good, so wholesome, so fun. And here's where my theories really go into place, because it upset me so much that I was like, hey Kay, no, screw this. Watch this with me. So I went back on YouTube and looked up this old 8-year property that WB funded back in the day when like studios were giving up money to, trying to get into the YouTube game. Like, hey, we'll do some, some little bit of higher budget stuff, but we still aren't going to put like our movie budget stuff in there. They made a Mortal Kombat stuff. A guy named Kevin Tachirion, this guy named Kevin T, right? I'll put the name up here so you guys know. Look him up. Amazing director. Directed almost every amazing, like some of the most amazing episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D. I ended up looking back. He directed them. He directed the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh my god. But this guy, he was just a YouTuber. He made this, got some people together, and made like this short little fan film of Mortal Kombat, right? little fun thing, modern day take of Mortal Kombat. Uh, Real gritty, real dark, real cool. Especially for like 8 years ago. So, or even, I think even then it was like 10 years ago. It blew up, right? Back in the early days of virality, it blew up. Warner Brothers took notice and decided, hey, here's some money. Can you make a series out of this? Or like an internet series out of this? What she did, like, 15-minute episodes. Um, so good. Like in the first two episodes, like, I'll send you like one of the links to someone that like composed it into like a whole hour thing, or I may send you the actual link so that WB knows that maybe we should just get this guy back.
Okay.
But in the first two 15-minute episodes, we learn the motivations of Jax, Sonya, Kano. We learn about Stryker, all within the first 15-30 minutes of it, and have their deep motivations, right? The next 15 minutes, we learn deeply about Johnny Cage, to the fact where you're like, man, I'm so down to figure out what happens with this guy. Whew. Right? Like, so deep, right? And then and then you learn about Adenia. Like, and all in all, this series, as far as it's gotten, when they get up to Mortal, and they do like a bit of Mortal Kombat by season 2, I think like they're in Mortal Kombat by season 2, and he wanted to do a season 3. It was like 2 hours it was less than 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, and this dude, this YouTube guy, this guy that just that made a cool video on YouTube, made a Mortal Kombat live action that was 10 times better than what they gave us. 10 times better. And you know what? I realized, I was like, wait a minute, let me look at this. Why didn't they go to, oh my god, they did go to him. And he dropped out. He dropped out back in 2013. And I think I know why. Because
studio exec involvement.
They wanted him to make this crazy mess. If they wanted him to make this crazy mess, I'd drop out too. Because again, he was a fan of Mortal Kombat. Like, Kay was watching with me, and she's like, wow, this guy's a real fan. Like, yeah, he understands the lore of Mortal Kombat. He loves this stuff. I'm like, yeah. And did a modern twist on it. Michael Jai White was Jax. Spawn was Jax. He got Spawn as Jax. And he was killing it. Right? Like, he got some decent names back, to be in part of it. So it was just... And then they got a bunch of... And then for this movie, they got a bunch of nobody actors. Like, we don't know who the best actors they got were these Asian dudes, and they completely squandered their talent by not know how to film them. Because it looked like they were trying to film a Jason Bourne fight scene. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think in movies like this, those directors who are in charge of filming the action, filming the fight, I mean, they can make or break these movies, but you also have to have a good story.
Yeah, I mean, it really didn't. And the problem was, it wasn't that it was bad, it was lazy. And I think that's what upset me the most. I would have been fine if it was just like, we're trying to make this shit work, but it's kind of crazy. We get it. Mortal Kombat is ridiculous.
Made the same review.
Like,
who said the same thing in their review, that they feel like the movie was just lazy.
Right? Like,
it could have been so much better.
There's so much lore that even if they went for it, even if they tried to go for the lore that they had, and it was just a messy story to tell, that would have been more enjoyable than what they gave us. Because like I said, it was lazy. Remember you watched when I compared it on the other day to Power Rangers, right? And how you can tell that whoever made the Power Rangers movie, wrote it, they had a deep love for that lore, right? They understood the past of Mighty Morphin. They understood what fans loved about it because they were a fan, and had lots of plans for what to go down for it. This one very much was like, especially to consider seeing how this guy doesn't have any credits, I don't think anyone worth their salt wanted to make this movie. I think every person worth their salt that they could have gotten to direct this movie did not want any part of it. So they got whoever they could pluck off the street. Probably thinking that, well, the first guy
You're
that we
saying a
got,
lot.
the first guy that we got was a YouTuber. This guy might work. But I'm saying, like, this is Warner Brothers. Like, are you saying that they had no directors that they could have trusted this 30-year franchise to? No directors that had a long passive, like, why you're saying Zack Snyder turned this shit down? I would have been fine with a Zack Snyder fucking Mortal Kombat, as crazy as that might have turned out.
Well,
At least visually,
everyone would
that,
be fine with that.
and
Zack Snyder
visually it
makes
would have
good
been
action
amazing.
movies.
It would have been visually amazing. This was visually okay. Right? Like I said, you can tell what scenes all the effort went into. Everything else was just so lazy. So and the problem is that I don't know if it was lazy because he doesn't care. I don't know if it's lazy because they just got whoever it was, because whoever did want to do it, or whoever did want to do it didn't care about it and they were just looking for a paycheck. Or I don't know if this was a vanity prize, like, this is my chance. Like, or they spent all the money to fit, like, he bragged about filming scenes in Australia. Who cares? Like, that's how I knew it was a vanity. But I'm like, who cares? Ugh. The movie was boring. I don't care where, like, those desert scenes were boring. Oh, great, Africa, Australia, great. Desert's amazing. Like, ooh, cool. Palish, whitish sand. Wow. Like, to me, like I said, and then, like I said, to have that Kano be someone that so much of the story revolved around Kano. Again, someone who is a very, very, very much side character, who Sonya kills, by the way. In times of point where he's not that important to the story in Mortal Kombat. For him to be so important to me is just a vanity thing. Like, dude, like, you might have ruined your chances to really be a big director because you were busy trying to make yourself feel cool during this. Because no,
I'm interested to see where he goes next. I'm gonna watch the movie and then I'll watch the movie and see if I can get all the way through it.
I mean,
It's a struggle to get all the way through Kong.
Yeah, it's a movie that you can go through, and like I said, to me, it was me like trying to go through it, trying to be like, are they going to ever like maybe I'm being too harsh on it. Maybe in the end we're gonna be like, aha, but we're really going by the lore. And then let me just say this one word to you, and it's not a spoiler. Arcana.
Yeah, that doesn't resonate with me. I'm not big on Mortal Kombat, so
It shouldn't resonate with anyone because it's a bullshit word that they made up for the movie, and they repeat it so much that I want.
Like midichlorians.
They repeat it so much, I want the director to get hit in the face as many times as they say Arcana. One punch for every time for every time they say it in the movie.
Well, I'm sure what would make it better is if you get all your friends together, watch the movie, and bring out the shots, and every time they say Arcana, everybody takes a shot. By the end of the movie, it'll be great.
No, in the movie, we'll all be dead.
They said that much.
That's what I'm saying. It's really like, man, we're taking shots. We're calling the ambulance for somebody. It is that much, and even then, it's not even the useful use of it, right? It's like, that's how you know it's basically like, even when I was spoiling, that's how you know it's lazy. It's their reasoning for everyone's ability to do anything.
I gotcha.
And
just like midichlorians,
right?
Like when they brought in midichlorians for Jedi powers, like, what are you doing? Or unobtainium. And that wasn't even the first movie that used the word unobtainium. It's like, this is the best we can do.
Right?
$100 million movie, and the key, the key mineral in the movie, you call it unobtainium. But anyways, this is Hollywood, right?
But at least they had a reason. Unobtainium. I kind of want that, so I'm gonna go for it. Arcana, like
No, no, we're not calling a real we're not calling something that you travel across the galaxy to get unobtainium. We're not gonna do that.
I'm gonna
No,
become a
we're
scientist.
not gonna destroy an entire species, to get unobtainium. Come on.
I'm gonna
Come
become a
on.
scientist. I'm gonna build a particle accelerator. I'm gonna create an atom, a new element, and I'm gonna call it unattainium.
Oh,
Actually, in fact, I'm
that's
pretty sure someone's already done that. I'm pretty sure some scientist has already named some new atom or something unattainium.
no
Some
self-respecting scientist would do that.
look at have you looked at the periodic table and some of them the later man-made elements?
You're gonna make me Google it.
It's hilarious. I was like, okay. I'm like, no, I get it. Scientists, right? You aren't getting paid for your creativity. You're getting paid for your smarts. Us creative people are gonna turn your smarts into something interesting.
Now you're gonna make me pay close attention to some of these later ones.
It's hilarious, like the periodic table and the man-made elements. The but yeah. So that I mean that's just my rant to Mortal Kombat. I'll say why it's a fun movie. It would be a good movie to watch. That's my other disappointment. I want to say it's a good movie to watch to your boy to be like it's funny, but it's not even that. I feel like it would be that if they went for more actually try to do the Mortal Kombat lore, and it just fell on its face. Then that would be funny, right? But it just felt like they saw what they had in front of them, like a giant puzzle piece, and were they had a 10,000 piece puzzle that would be beautiful and amazing and impressive if they can finish it. And the producers didn't understand what they were building, didn't understand what the people were trying to build. So they're like, bring in someone who will make me an easier puzzle. So they bring out a 4-piece puzzle. Just 4 corners. And that's the movie. Like, it's not fun. It's not interesting to go through. It's just to me it's a watch it as a good lesson on how not to adapt anything good or bad. Like if
So,
you want a
uh,
forgettable movie, this is how you make a forgettable movie.
so what are you looking forward to? Because it's 2021. There's some good movies coming out. You got any?
I'm
Got anything that you're really looking forward to seeing?
definitely looking forward to Shang-Chi. Um oh,
Yeah,
ooh, I'm looking forward to Miss Marvel, which reminds me, did you see
that's 2020. Is it even 2022
I
or is
think
that 2023?
I think it's 2021 because I've been looking it up. I think it's
No.
late this year.
Oh, Miss Marvel. Miss
Yeah,
Marvel.
not
Okay,
Captain
not
Marvel.
Captain
Yeah, not
Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Miss Marvel with Imani Khan. Iman
Okay.
Khan. Um, but I think I saw her in Falcon Winter Soldier.
Really?
Yeah, like when they're the scene where they're walking Isaiah Bradley through the um museum and they're like seeing it for the
Hmm.
first time and they're amazed. Where there's this one shot where they're walking by like kind of a wall of stuff. And there's some extras in the back and when they walk off screen like past the camera, a girl walks into the center of the screen and stops and stares at the wall. Holding a pamphlet, Captain America pamphlet.
Hmm.
Now she looks vaguely, in my experience as someone who lived in the Middle East for a short bit, she looks a little like she could be from that part of the world. Maybe Pakistani. Especially if that young girl who they filmed in Miss Marvel had a couple years to grow up and get more face definition. I absolutely see that girl being a Khan going to
Kamala Khan.
no cool Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan, right? Kamala. I don't know why I said Iman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Her name. That's her name. I think that's the actress's name. Is Iman.
Okay.
Uh, because she is Pakistani. Uh, yeah, but Kamala Khan. Uh, I can see that being Kamala Khan. Uh, Going to like see another superhero that she looks up to, because clearly, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel is the one she looks up to that inspired her, and then being Captain America being another one that inspires her. But my
Yeah.
my film knowledge in terms of like as I told you before in that one discussion, you control what the person sees. You control what they watch as a director, and you're not just gonna have some extra walk onto the screen, center and stop and hold it there for enough seconds for the audience to register it before cutting it away. That's you wouldn't do that. You would cut that. You would cut a little bit sooner before we register it. No, but they hung on it just a second long enough for me to be like, hold on, that's important. Marvel, I know you. That's important,
Yeah, now you're gonna make me go back and look at that.
right?
I'm really looking forward to Morbius.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they are making a Morbius with Jared Leto.
Yeah, I
Um,
love seeing Jared Leto on the screen.
yeah, he
He
does an interesting superhero when when he's really allowed to do his thing. Like I think his Zack Snyder's Joker was better than the Suicide Squad Joker.
Well, I mean, we really didn't see that much of the Suicide Squad Joker, even in the extended cut. But I liked him either way. The Joker is he's I don't know. I'm trying to think of if anyone really messed up the Joker. No one's touching Heath Ledger, right?
Yeah.
It's just um, Jack's Joker was amazing, but Ledger's Joker was, you know, in a totally different realm. And but
It added a
as far as
dimension.
saying
I
it's a
think it added the
different
dimension to the
character.
Joker, which I think is
Yeah,
something that it was just something only I think really Mark Hamill did. That's why he's the other iconic Joker as the voice, is that it added to the Joker lore, to how and changed the way people think of the Joker. Um, for a long time, Mark Hamill was the titular voice of the Joker and his laugh, right?
hmm
And then now we have Heath Ledger, which gave the live action version of that. Because I don't, because while they had their, like I said, Nicholson and the others had their time, they just didn't, they didn't change the role to me, right? They didn't feel like they like, oh, this is not iconic, and maybe I'm too young to feel that way, because they weren't a new Joker, they were an old Joker to me, right? By the time I was old enough to pay attention. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, so what do I
yeah.
know?
I got that.
Um,
I'm looking forward to that definitely. I'm also this is outside the Marvel verse, but I'm really looking forward to Dune. But I've been a Dune fan
it looks
for the longest.
visually, it looks good.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting, especially the fact that like, I do like, when it comes to reboots, I like things like, things like the monster movies or things like that, where it's like, how did they take things that were done well back then, right? Like something like Dune, where they did a lot of tricks and camera trickery to make it seem as good in the time, but how do we use the techniques now to make it better? And for a long time, things were like, well, they just look worse now because it's all CG. But this one looks like, no, not only are we doing it better, but we're expanding it. Like that one final trailer scene where the I guess the depicting what they actually should have looked like in the original movie. These Goliath worms that are.
Yeah, I love the original movie, but again, I saw it when I was very young, and I like watching Dune. You know, um,
I can't trust anything
I'll
that we.
watch Dune again and again.
I
I
gotta.
still like watching Dune today.
Yeah, you gotta. I say like, because that's gotta be careful. Especially when it's out, you have to be careful with the. Because often, like, I like watching YouTubers that do commentary on old video, like on stuff that like we grew up in, nostalgia stuff. A lot of times, like, oh, it holds up. This does not hold up. uh,
You don't think Dune holds up?
well, not saying Dune, but I just mean in the sense where, because I wasn't young. I didn't grow up on Dune like you, so you just in that sense where automatically like this must be great because I never thought grew up thinking like, of course I have a love for that old Mortal Kombat movie, right? Understanding that that old Mortal Kombat movie was hot garbage, but it was fun. It was
Yeah,
fun.
for
It
sure.
was a fun movie. But
It's
bringing us
like
back to
me
around how this
growing
was
up
not fun.
watching. Yeah, it's like we grew up, me and my brother, we grew up watching the Godzilla movies and Mothra and Gamera, and if you sat down and watched that movie today, and Ultraman,
I
you'd
love
be like,
Ultraman.
this is garbage, but I love those movies, and they still, warm my heart when I think back to them.
Right.
It's
No.
something else to watch with your boys and and do shots while you're watching it. You know, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Morbius. Looking forward to What If and what they do with
Yes,
the
I'm looking.
episodes of What If.
Yeah, not
So
only that, but how they incorporate it into. I don't. I'm kind of interested. Is What If gonna be truly like their What If novels, where their What If stuff, where they're just completely disconnected, have nothing to do, or are they really going to be? We're gonna maybe see these universes elsewhere, right? Maybe actually, you know what? Maybe they will separate it. Maybe that's why they did the cartoons when it's gets easier to produce in terms of actors. Um, but I guess being cartoons, it's easier to separate it from the cinematic universe, while
yeah,
still kind of being
definitely.
the cinematic universe. But
I'm also looking forward to Blade.
oh, ooh, yeah. I mean, again, as someone who grew up, like Blade came out at a young time, right? Blade holds this special place in my heart, especially
Yeah.
as a young black man, right? I could pick up Blade. I'll put on Blade again and put and just like I'll just have fun watching through it, right? But yeah, Mahershala Ali. Um, God, I always mispronounce his name. Uh,
Yeah,
it,
you got it right.
it,
Mahershala Ali.
okay, but yeah, I would be interested. I want to see how what he brings to the table and how they incorporate those elements. In fact, what's coming first, Morbius or Blade? And do you think they'll incorporate them together? Like one will tease the other.
Morbius is coming first, and if Marvel's gonna do it right,
They have to.
Morbius and Blade will meet each other, of course.
Do you think they'll reference
So,
Blade in like kind of tease that Blade's coming in Morbius
uh, you,
since it's
so
vampires?
so so Morbius is the living vampire, I and Blade is the
The
Daywalker,
Yeah,
and so Morbius, through science, Michael Morbius turns himself into a vampire. He didn't mean to do it,
he was like
um,
trying to save
but this
himself
is
from a
what
blood
happens.
disease.
Exactly, and Blade, he was born that way, right?
Yeah,
His mom was attacked. So I don't know how they're gonna pull each other into their worlds, you know. I've only read a few Morbius comics, but I enjoyed them as I read them. But he never stuck with me to where I wanted to keep reading them. But they were never consistent with Morbius. Morbius was always someone who appeared in Blade, and then they gave him a couple of miniseries. Um, but that's all you saw of him. So Blade is Blade and Ghost Rider are Marvel's venture into the occult world, into the dark world, right? Of dark magic and the supernatural. Unlike um, Doctor Strange, you know. Um, so that was their vehicle for those types of stories, right? I don't know what they're gonna do with Morbius, because again, he's created by science and where they're gonna go with him.
yeah.
But I am looking forward to it, and I like that they picked Morbius. 'Cause when they said they were, and the reason I like it is I hope they do as well with Morbius as they did with Guardians of the Galaxy. When they said they were gonna make a Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, Guardians of the Galaxy?
Right? Like what?
Why would they do that, team? And Guardians of the Galaxy is amazing,
One of the better Marvels movies,
consistently, and
like one of the good,
yeah,
And they state, like you said,
yeah,
James Gunn nails it.
yeah, definitely. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think this is being first. I imagine they're probably just gonna stay something light as much as they're saying like the Daywalker. Uh, Probably mention that somewhere. You'll probably hear it somewhere. The Daywalker, so that all of us fanboys around can like nudge our partners and be like, "Oh my God, they're talking about Blade, right? The Daywalker is
Yeah.
Blade. Oh, Wesley Snipes, we gotta go watch it."
Yeah, they did a really good job with the first Blade. The others, but they really did a good job,
I hope they.
especially for the time. And you could just remake that movie. I wouldn't, but you could just remake that movie, spice it up a little bit, bring it into the now, and it still would be an excellent movie.
Hmm.
There's a couple of missteps, but and then they just went downhill. I don't know
Yeah.
what they were thinking,
Hey, the
but
producers, they keep getting
yeah,
involved, right? This is back to before the time where, and I'm glad it's one of, like I said, one of the first episodes. I'm glad they gave it to Feige, and Feige seems to trust the people he's putting in charge of these projects. Uh, and
Yeah, I
making
gotta look who the team behind who's making Blade.
because Blade that's serious. Again, they do have something because it wasn't like Blade was just bad, and they can only go anywhere but up, right? They of course being Marvel, they probably will go up, but it's not going to be a slam dunk since they already have a beloved Blade attached to it. So much to the point where I'd be disappointed if Wesley Snipes is not at least a cameo somewhere.
They gotta do it.
Like
Come on.
he has to be a
They
cameo.
gotta give him a nod.
Like
You got
he was in art. He's like What We Do in the Shadows. He played himself as Blade in What We Do in the Shadows.
I, I, I did not see that. I did
It's
not know that.
hilarious.
I've been wanting to watch that show. I just haven't sat down and done
They
it.
had like
I've only watched snippets, and every time I see a snippet, I laugh my ass
it's
off.
hilarious,
But
right? But it's like it's like a
yeah,
vampire meeting of like all like the like media's like history's post popular vampires, and like Wesley Snipes on like a laptop, and he's like and like bad connection. He's like I'm like hey vampire. And he's like what is the Daywalker doing here? It's like hey no discrimination.
okay, I gotta check it out.
It's a funny scene. At least that scene, like, just even look up that scene, like a vampire meeting, and it's like Tilda Swinton shows up as herself as a vampire.
Nice.
The great Tilda Swinton.
Jeez. Yeah.
And I was like, wow. But yeah, so he has to show up as a cameo. But yeah, so those are in terms of bringing them around, close it off theories. My theories of this week are pretty much I think they're going to be using US Agent as the Captain America of the Dark Avengers. The Dark Avengers are going to be kind of these troubled heroes that are misguided or misguided and misled to that brings ahead. I feel like even makes it more dynamic because now it's not just let's beat up the villains, but now it's hey man, this isn't the way. Wanda, don't do this. Sister, no. Hulk smash. Red Hulk smash. Vision, are we a boat? Because now we have White Vision. Because we have White Vision.
Oh.
It's like in there's two visions. Are we a boat?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with that also.
So yeah, so like they have a lot of people that kind of just disappear that are kind of out in the ether, just waiting to be pulled back for whatever reason, but who aren't necessarily evil, and I think would make a story that you can tell because like you said, you can't tell a Dark Avengers as they were on Disney, but we could, like I said, switch out who they are, give them new motivations as to why they're the Dark Avengers. Mortal Kombat. Nobody wanted to work on Mortal Kombat is my second theory, and they had to give it to just whoever would take it, which is why it was mediocre. Don't at me. And what was the last one? We're looking forward to some stuff, some cool thing. My theory is next couple months are gonna be pretty awesome. Oh yeah, Miss Marvel was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm calling it now. Even if I'm wrong, I was right.
You say so.
My name is Lucid.
I'm Popbot.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next.